Okay, here's test build 3, the final one at the top of the H. This is significantly stronger thanks to these additional A-frames. So you can see we've got this additional A-frame here, which is really adding a lot. Oops. That was the one that was the original. Let's just get rid of that bit of wood. So that's that one there. We've also added 2 here. You have to be a little bit careful in terms of what's visible. So there's that one. And that one at the base of that. And I'm thinking we'll actually put in something kind of going from here to here up and A-framing that there as well, so that it doesn't wobble in, you know, that direction. Not that it really wobbles much at all. So we can't get to the viewpoint, unfortunately, but it's not totally similar from that. Okay, so we're looking at suffering and genocide. There's no pole on this side because there's one on that side, but the screws are through. So we're on the back side of genocide now. So obviously screws through from the other side into this as well. Considering that this isn't a plier in my garden, these rebar hoops that are holding this in, which will have like 2 or 3 on there, will really hold even better into the plier. So we'll see those other ones there. So we're looking at genocide. We've taken the pole that was supporting along this side here, and it really made no difference in terms of strength, so I don't think that adds anything. This A-frame adds a hell of a lot more. Now on this side, where there's shame and peril, we've just taken this pole out that was down here, and that doesn't, the feeling is that pole really wasn't adding much, but what might add much is taking this piece of wood here, and rather than having it being a 3-foot piece, having it being an 8-foot piece that goes all the way along that edge of peril, because there's a bit of flexibility here, and that will just make it stronger. So again, we're looking at peril and shame, and we've taken the pole out that was supporting here into the ground. It's really made no difference. Again, in terms of strengthening this, we might take this A-frame, I think, and go all the way up there just to give some additional rigidity to that OSB. And I really think the thing that's going to make a little bit of extra difference in here is having that A-frame in here, as in something going from here, piece of wood across to there, piece of wood up here, and then completing the triangle down like that, and then that's going to stop that rocking from that to side a little bit. So one thing that's different for this build is that this post here that's in between peril and shame here, which is actually two bits of wood joined together, that's simulating something like a 3x3 or 4x3 there. So that really does kind of give a bit of extra rigidity. I mean, I literally can't almost wobble that there. And that's the one that we're thinking of augering into the ground, but to be honest, I don't think we're going to need to. It's pretty strong without, as we'll see in the wobble testing in a minute. But those having those thicker there definitely does make a difference. So this is wobble testing. So whilst there is a bit of movement there, I mean, these guys are really going for it, and to be honest, as we can see here, the rebar does not hold up well in English soil compared to the plier. Okay, so we're going to test this bit in the middle here, which is with plywood at the moment. Now, the rebar is not anchoring well into this ground, as we can see here. So now I'm going to stand, Guy and I are going to stand and simulate rebar going into the plier now by bedding our weight to these pieces of wood and watch what the difference is. Go, Guy! And is that different, Hel, in terms of...
It is, it's more stable.
Okay, cool. Alright, stop. So the question really is, we've made these 2 pieces chipboard as opposed to OSB, because obviously there's nothing supporting this underneath. It's physically, you know, it's hanging in space. The only things that are anchoring, stopping this piece falling onto the ground, are those 2 poles going across, joining the OSB to the chipboard. And these two are screwed along in here, and then into that, and into that, and then all up there. Those two pieces there, those two pieces there, which have screws coming in from the other side through into them. You can see up there and there. And then the only other thing that's holding it up is this bit of wood here, which is obviously screwed into the OSB and chipboard there. And that's actually really quite, a strong joint, considering it's only a piece of 2x3 in there. It's only about 15 inches tall. So the question is really, should these be chipboard or OSB? We may well take both out and see. The OSB being lighter is obviously easier to manipulate, is less likely to hang and fall. Has a reasonable amount of flexibility to it. This is all going to be lit, so right round the edge of this, which is the 8, so there's going to be fairy lights going up here, along here, down here, on the base of that, up there, across there, and all the way down to the ground. So even at night, if people are trying to go through this gap, there should be fairy lights, well, there will be fairy lights all along there. We can put the odd blinking on the sharp point on the end of that, but it won't be sharp, we can cut that on there. So it should all be very visible at night, with lots of other fairy lights on as well. So just interested to see whether or not we think this is going to benefit from being all OSB or not. On the one hand it adds a bit of weight, on the other hand it adds a bit more rigidity. Although we could add battens, sort of going down here, and sort of like, going across there and down there or something to give it extra structure as well. We'll see. But I'm very, very happy with that as a third build. Those A-frames have made an enormous difference in terms of securing it into the ground, and once they, we have proper sort of longer pieces of rebar that are full hairpins that are anchored into the plier. We know from experience how tough the rebar holds into the plier. So overall I'm very happy with that now in terms of structure, and this is the weakest piece.